Welcome YouTube. Frank 99 RC here. We're gonna take a break from RCs and work on a 2007 Ford Focus. We're gonna attempt to replace the clutch. This would be part one. We need to get all this off here to access the motor mount, the transmission mount on top. We need to take the wheels off, we need to take the axles off, we need to lift it up first, and let me go ahead and do that, and we'll get you back on here. I took off this wheel. It's a 19mm socket with a impact, and then the axle nut is a 32mm. So we'll do that on the other side as well. We know it's missing the lug nut. Basically, if I take the wheels off of a car when it's on jack stands, I put the wheel right underneath the chassis where the railing is. So if the jack stands fail, I have a little bit of a leeway there, so the car doesn't fall completely down on the ground. So removing the battery is just a 10mm socket here, the positive and the negative. We need to remove that, and then we need to remove the carrying case, the hold downs for the battery, the whole bracket. We're gonna need to remove the airbox, and then we're gonna see what we need to do next. Let me do that real quick here. Let's see here. So we have let me see what that size it is. And that's gonna be a 13. 13 there. 10mm here. That right there. Okay, let's see what else here. To remove. There's 10mm. Actually 12mm down there, I believe. Let me get an extension and all that stuff. So after you take that screw, that nut off, that one off, and this one off, the battery case just comes out of there. I'm just gonna leave those screws on there, and I just gotta guide it through this hole right here. go. Take it out. And then I think, yeah, that is the transmission mount right there. So what I think I'm gonna do before I take this whole bracket off here is I'm going to brace the motor from the bottom with a jack and a piece of wood so it doesn't fall. So I decided before I remove that top transmission mount, I'm just gonna remove the air box. It's held in by 1/4 socket here, and then from here, and then it simply lifts up. You need to remove the hose vent tube that goes from there to here. But I did support the motor with the jack. I'm gonna start taking these axles off real quick. So right there is a 15mm socket bolt. I need to remove this control arm from the knuckle here. So let me go ahead and do that, guys. To remove this bolt, it's just like I said, a 15mm, and on the back it's like a Torx. I didn't have the Torx relatively available, so I just held it with some pliers in the back, and then I used a pry bar here, just wedged it right in the middle right there and pulled outward, and then to get it kind of loose, tapping right here, okay, and then after that pry bar right underneath and pull up. And it's already coming loose right there. So after prying up, comes out, and now it's pretty free. So we need to remove this CV axle here, and this one doesn't have ABS, so you don't have the ABS ring, so you don't have to worry about that. But basically I could tap right here, but you don't want to mess the threads, so I put a nut over it and just gently tap right in the center. So this thing is stuck on there. I'm gonna put some lube right in the splines, right in there, and then behind, right in here, and let it soak while I try to do the other side, and then maybe soak that with the 80/40 as well. While I'm at it, I'm gonna remove the tie rod in here to give me more leverage to pull on this hub to remove this axle that's being really stubborn. And the way I do this is we put one of these tie rod tools right in between there, and then you use a 19mm and crank it down, and then it separates the tie rod from the knuckle. Alright guys, we got the axle off. It was a pain in the butt, but we got it. It was kind of rusted right there. You can see that. All that rust was right where the splines go inside there. That was an ordeal. So what I did is I soaked it in WD-40, left it in there, and start tapping it with a hammer. I put the nut right here to try to save the threads here, and eventually it came out. When you take it out of the transmission right over there, it's gonna spill some fluid, so just put a bucket underneath there, and I'm gonna work on the other side and let you guys know how that goes. In order to take this passenger side axle off, there is a bracket on the axle itself. It's held on by 3 13mm bolts. One here, one up there, and then one down in there as well. So we gotta take those off. You might need to get a let me see here, a deep 13mm, get to the one right above the axle, right in here. But that's how you take those off. I'm actually using a 3-inch extension with a 13mm socket, and I just got the bottom one off. I'm gonna take this one off here. That one's off, and then the other one is right there. Basically, when I take bolts out, so I don't lose them, after I take the part out, I put the bolts back in. So that's what I'll do when I take this axle off. I do that to everything. On some stuff that I can't put the bolts back in, I put them in a bucket and label them. So it gets me organized and know where every bolt goes. That's a quick little tip. So we got it out of the knuckle, the hub, and now I'm just trying to get it out of the transmission. So this is loose here, and what I'm doing is I'm just tapping right here, so that comes out. Now it should be. There we go. It's coming out. It's kind of difficult here, but I'm wedged over here with the mount, so let me see, let me get situated here. There it is, guys. So this axle's off, and so I'm gonna remove this bracket here, this transmission mount. We need to remove the starter, and the starter is way right. I can't see it, but that's the starter right there. It's got one bolt right there and one on top, and then it's got the wiring for it. But what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take those bolts off and just drop it there, lay it, so I don't have to move it completely. The car was starting fine, so the starter's fine. Down here, I guess we're gonna have some issues with clearance, because this is the subframe here, this is the transmission. So whenever we remove the bell housing bolts right here all along the motor and transmission, we're gonna have some issues trying to remove it. I've heard that you need to remove the whole subframe to do this job, but I am very persistent and I am very stubborn, so I'm gonna try not to remove the subframe because that's a big deal. You gotta take off the power steering rack here and everything, but I'm gonna try to do it without that. So from up top I need to remove that bracket I told you for the battery and the transmission mount, this mount right here, and starter. So let me get to that stuff too. So I removed this bottom support, transmission support here. There's one on the side here, that one goes through there, and 1, 2, 3, 4 13mm bolts, and then that one goes in here in this slot where this big one goes in here, and it just bolts on to the back of the transmission right there. I'm just getting the starter out. There's the starter. This bolt was in the bottom, and then I had to use my electric ratchet here to get the top one off, and it should be loose. There's the bolt on top. There it is. Now let's see here. I think we should just pry it out a little bit, and it should be coming right out right there. Nothing else on the bottom is holding the transmission other than the top over there, the transmission mount, and the bell housing. I gotta still do the linkage as well and start removing the bell housing bolts. So that's where I'm at right now. So this concludes removing the transmission to get to the clutch on this Ford Focus. This will be part 1. Part 2 will be tomorrow. Basically everything's loose, transmission is loose, well, motor and transmission, the back mount is off. The only thing holding it is the bell housing bolts. I removed the starter already, and the top mount here needs to be removed, but I'm gonna do that tomorrow on part 2. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos. Thank you.